It's weird, isn't it?
Why?
Well, it's a bit strange having you sitting the opposite side of the desk to me, because normally I'm in my own home.
Well, normally we're on the opposite. We're looking at each other.
Can we just have a big bit of card between us?
Yeah.
So I don't have to look at you.
I haven't got any.
Too close for comfort. Well, we better do it then, I suppose, hadn't we?
Yep. Which pod is it?
This is pod 5!
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Let's get started.
Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
The Gerry Anderson Podcast with Jamie Anderson and Richard James.
Welcome to pod 5!
Isn't it amazing?
It is incredible.
I'm so pleased we're back. And this time recording in person with Richard. Normally we do it over the phone.
Yeah.
Many hundreds of miles apart. And
That's
yet today we're only less than 100 centimetres apart.
That's right, it's very strange, isn't it? We have to look each other in the eye
Yeah,
as we talk.
I don't feel very comfortable.
No, it's very odd. But welcome to the Gerry Anderson Podcast. We're back. I'm Richard James, actor, writer, father, husband.
Podcaster.
And you are?
I'm Jamie Anderson.
Why are you here?
Bald human being,
Yes.
podcaster, younger son of Gerry Anderson. And yeah, I'm just here because we've got nothing better to do.
Well,
Except
right.
we're recording this about an hour and a half before we're doing Fab Live.
Yes, which is, for those that don't know,
A monthly Facebook Live broadcast.
Yeah, I mean, we're just all over the shop, aren't we? There's no escaping us at all, is
No,
there?
haven't we got anything better to do? Probably
Apparently not. No.
well, clearly you haven't by listening to us, so thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for joining us, and you have been joining us in your droves, and we know that because our initial episodes were second only in the iTunes film and TV chart to
Love Island, which is unbelievable. Obviously now we've slipped right down again.
Well, of
but,
course, yes.
For a short time we were nearly as good as Love Island.
I think we could only top that by appearing on Love Island, couldn't we?
After you can go first. It's not really my bag, but thank you.
No, that was great. So thank you to all of you for tuning in to Pod 5, the 5th of our weekly podcasts.
So far weekly, yes.
Who thought that would be possible?
And whether you've listened before or not, please do subscribe to us so then you get notified every week when we put out a new episode, and also rate us and review us.
Yes, we've had lots of lovely reviews, some
We
of
have.
which we'll come to a bit later on, I think.
Yeah, we will do. We've had just so many lovely emails from you
Yes.
all. So what's coming up, Richard?
Well, we've got all the usual nonsense, really. We've got news from the Gerry Anderson universe, of course. We've got listeners' emails and comments. And we have an interview. Well, who do we have an interview with this week, Jamie?
Well, I can tell you that the interview's pretty ace. Get it?
Right.
Maybe.
Pretty ace.
Only Doctor Who fans will get that.
Yeah.
It's Sophie Aldred,
Sophie Aldred, fantastic.
who is really lovely. And
Ace.
Who was ace.
Ace.
Nice Sylvester impression there.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Is my dog trying to get
Yeah,
me
I'm
all
being
that?
scratched by
sorry about
one of
that.
your innumerable hounds.
Tell him to go away.
So we already had Sophia Miles, of course, and Lee Sullivan, and people can hear those interviews on our previous pods.
Yeah, pods 2, 3 and 4.
Indeed.
But yeah,
And,
Sophie Aldred coming up.
Sophie Aldred.
And the randomizer with Chris Dale.
Which is always fun, where Chris Dale, our roving reporter, is sat down and forcibly shown an episode from one of Gerry Anderson's great series, and he comments as he watches, with
Yes.
hilarious consequences.
Yes, absolutely. Most hilarious. And I've had a few emails actually saying how much they love the randomizer section.
Fantastic.
Which is great. So
That's
well done,
brilliant.
Chris.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you want to get in touch, then email us, podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk, and we will do our very best to read your email and answer any questions you might have. But we did have so many in the last week or so that we can't possibly cover them all, but we will get to as many as we can.
They flooded in, didn't they?
They really
My
do.
inbox was as full as it's ever been, I think. I don't know why you're laughing. So yes, do email us at podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk. You can find us on Twitter, of course. I'm Jamie Anderson, I am Jamie Anderson, and Richard N. James. And of course, if you're listening and want to tweet about us, then you can hashtag us Gerry Anderson Podcast.
Yeah.
It's that
do
easy, isn't it?
Some people have done that. It's
Some
nice.
people have, yeah.
Yeah, and I, when I possibly can as well for our interview sections, I'm going to let people know on Twitter the day I'm interviewing somebody, and you can try and submit questions, and I will do as many as I can. So keep an eye on hashtag Gerry Anderson Podcast, and do follow us
Nice.
on Twitter to see those.
So we've had Sophia Miles, Lee Sullivan, we've got Sophie Aldred in this pod. Any clues as to who might be coming up in the future?
Yes. I will have to be making a journey in some cars
Right.
to speak to a future guest.
Perhaps you might go down into the Tubeway Army? No, is that a bit too tenuous for you?
That's too tenuous for me. I mean, later this week I'm interviewing Gary Newman.
Yeah, let's just say it. Let's just say it. Just be.
And if I don't get it, then we can just cut it out.
Yeah, that's right.
Say who knows who'll be interviewing.
Yeah, they would never know.
Also Nick Briggs,
Yeah.
Robbie Stevens, previously known as Ben Stevens, coming up. Denise Breyer, lots of
Now,
people.
you say previously known as Ben Stevens, so why do you keep saying Robbie Stevens previously known as... Because surely that means that he's also known now as Ben Stevens. And if it weren't for you saying previously known as, we wouldn't ever know he wouldn't be known
He's
as
still
Ben
credited
Stevens.
as Ben Stevens on Terrorhawks DVDs and stuff, so Terrorhawks fans might go with Ben Stevens. And in fact, I even had somebody say, why do you keep calling him Robbie? His name's Ben.
Right.
But it's Robbie. Anyway.
And I'm assuming then he'll tell us the story as to why he's changed
He does
his name.
tell us the story. That'll be in a few weeks' time.
Right. Exciting. Something to look forward to.
Lots to look forward to.
Indeed.
Let's move on straight away with some things that have happened in the last week.
Yes, let's have some news.
It's the Gerry Anderson news.
Well, come on then. Out with
It's
it.
time for some news. On the Gerry Anderson website, we've got a lovely report from ShadowCon 2, the recent UFO convention, which was attended by lots of lovely people who worked on the original series, including Alan Perry and Alan Shubrook.
Right.
An appearance from James Winch's UFO Jeep, which has been fully restored and was parked outside the Quad in Derby, where the event was held.
Nice, I know it well.
And also an appearance from Suzanne Neve, who played Mary Straker. I think it was Mary Straker. Anyway, Straker's wife.
Fantastic.
There was a very rare convention appearance from her, plus Aisha Bruff and lots of other lovely people. Sadly, I couldn't make it because I was in Sheffield, I think.
Were you?
I was somewhere anyway where I couldn't get there.
Yes.
A
lot of love for UFO though, isn't there? When you announced the was it Blu-ray the new the
Yeah, the UFO, that was some time ago, UFO Blu-ray,
yeah.
but lots of love for it, yes.
Yes.
And also I recently put out a listing of my personal choice, the top 10 Anderson openings.
Well, I bet that went down well.
And I didn't put UFO at number 1, and so I got quite a lot of
Yes.
corrections from UFO fans saying, well, how could you not put that number 1?
Absolutely. Where can we find that list then?
Well, along with this report from ShadowCon 2 at the Gerry Anderson website,
Right.
gerryanderson.co.uk.
What was your top 3?
Gosh, I've got it from memory now. I think I put Stingray at number 3, you know, and Terrorhawks number 2, Thunderbirds number 1.
Oh, right.
Or maybe it was Space 1999 number 3. Anyway,
Yeah,
you'll have to check out it for yourself. If you're looking for a Gerry Anderson convention to go to, there is one being held at the National Space Centre in Leicester on the 22nd and 23rd of September.
Right.
Called the Fab Worlds of Anderson. More to be revealed in due course.
Great.
Put that in your diaries. I will be there on the Sunday, I think. So yes, look at the National Space Centre's website for more on that. I would like to tell you about something charitable too, Richard.
Charitable?
Yeah.
I know you do a lot of work for charity, don't you? You don't like to talk about it, do you?
I try not to talk about it too much, but this is a new charity
Yeah.
that's new to the worlds of Gerry Anderson and Entertainment. It's called the Young People's Puppet Theatre, YPPT. You can find out about them at yppt.org.uk, and I've recently become a trustee for them. And they do a wonderful programme where they go into primary schools and the class can pick a play. They make the sets, they build the puppets, and they perform the whole thing. The whole process lasts about 2 terms, and it's a completely transformative thing for the kids. It is amazing. The bullies become the helpers. The shy kids find their strength in some area, whether it's voicing or production management or whatever.
Yeah.
And they all start thinking we could never do something this big, and then they pull it off. And the teachers love it, the kids love it. It's an amazing charity. So I'm doing my bit for them to
Fantastic.
help them raise vital funding, because it's currently a very small operation and they need to be in more schools.
Right.
So if you'd like to make a donation in Gerry Anderson's name, then we'd love to see that. You can do so at yppt.org.uk, and you can see more of their work there, their videos, and a very embarrassing picture of me.
Oh,
on the
well.
About Us page.
Well, that's worth looking at. That's worth parting with hard-earned cash for, I would think.
Yes,
At
exactly.
least look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that your father would have approved of, surely. That's a fantastic way of forwarding, his ideas. And,
It's lovely, and just manual craft. You know,
Yes.
it's not it's as much as we love CG and all that sort of stuff, teaching the kids to make stuff with their hands and be really proud of it is brilliant. And I've seen kids who are really troublesome in class, have real problems concentrating, and they'll be sat there sewing a costume for an hour straight, totally focused because they're so into it. They really love it. So a great charity.
Lovely, very good.
On less charitable things,
Right.
just
Sounds
not,
ominous.
It's just not.
What, you're not going to sack me, are you?
No, it's just not a charity thing. The Thunderbirds Beyond the Horizon interactive theatrical experience. I'm supposed to be going to see them next week, and unfortunately, it's been postponed. So that means we won't have any news on the theatrical experience for another few weeks yet.
Okay. When is this due to open?
I think it's November.
Right.
But we know very, very little about it. But as soon as I know more, it'll be on the website and on the podcast.
And is this venue specific, do you know? Do you know
Yeah,
what's happening?
it's the Mercato Metropolitano, I think it's called. They're building a new theatre there, a new kind of interactive space called the Buzz.
Right.
And it's at Elephant and Castle in London.
Right.
That's all I know.
Tickets available yet? Or
You can pre-order tickets,
Really?
I think, but I mean, it's exciting going to pre-ordering for something you don't know what it is.
Well,
but
yes.
I don't know.
That's right.
Anyway, there you go. That's it. That's it for news.
Fantastic.
So the last bit of news is that there's no news.
Yes, well, that's all right.
What have you been up to, Richard? Anything
Well,
exciting?
it's funny you should say Leicester. I was in Leicester this week.
Are you?
And do you know, I remember the first time we met. It was in Leicester. I say the first time in our adult lives, or certainly
yes.
your adult life, after a gap of however many years it was
many.
at Brit Sci-Fi at the National Space Centre.
After a 20-year gap or
That's
18-year
right.
gap.
And I recognised you immediately.
Because I look like Dad. Who's that baldy, you thought?
Yeah, that's right, exactly. But yes, Leicester's a very nice place and buzzing with activity. And
And a lovely National Space Centre.
absolutely right. It was always worth a look.
Anyway, and were you were awful aunting there, I'm assuming?
Well, of course. I mean, that's my life at the moment.
That's your life
until
other than
January.
Mondays.
That's all I'm doing. Yes, absolutely. It's completely taking over.
Well, I'm glad you were so full of news. That's
Yes.
it for the news.
Great.
Should we have some listener emails instead?
Yes, we do have a few listener emails that were sent. In fact, we have rather a lot. And as ever, we can't read them all out because time is of the essence. You can send us your comments and thoughts to podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk.
That's exactly what you can do.
We have been asking you about your favourite series and your Gerry Anderson memories and whether you met him, and or just for your general thoughts and comments. We've had a bumper crop. Now, first up, we've got this one from James Pilson Wood, who says, "Hi both. Hope you're both well and not melting in this heat."
I am melting, but Richard loves it.
Yeah, I do love it.
Which is a bit of a lizard.
I live for this weather. I absolutely love it. I have a question about a Thunderbirds project that never came to be. Thunderbirds International Rescue. I remember seeing some test footage years and years ago, but wasn't sure if your father had anything to do with the process. Kind regards, keep up the good work. That's from James. What do we know about that?
I don't know a huge amount about it. There's a teaser of a chap slipping off a rail of a lighthouse on YouTube, which you can see. I think Carlton at the time, kind of ITV predecessor in terms of the Thunderbirds chain, commissioned a company to see what could be done with puppets. And it kind of started off well, that teaser. I thought it had some interesting potential. But then it just turned into something which felt like it was slightly kind of overly self-aware and kind of mocking Thunderbirds. The characters weren't great looking, and for whatever reason, that never made it. So that was canned.
And when are we talking? What
Early 2000s, I
really?
guess.
Yeah.
2003 maybe, 4. But no, never made it. Nothing to do with Dad, and I don't think he really approved, probably because he wasn't asked to be involved.
I mean, how does it feel for you? What do you feel when you sort of see, as it were, other people playing with your toys?
Well, they're not my toys, they're Dad's toys.
Yeah.
So, I'm one step removed, but I
Yeah.
still feel a bit like, oh, is he really?
Really?
I'm not sure that's maybe not what he would have wanted. But,
Yes.
who knows?
Yeah.
Happy to open it up creatively.
Yeah.
But that wasn't to be, that one.
I've
got the next one, if
Go
that's
on,
all
then.
right. And
Yeah.
unless you're desperate to read it.
No, you carry on.
This is from Edward Buckton. Hello, Jamie and Richard. He's got the order right there, you see.
No. A word about your billing. It's not
We'll
good.
see about that. I'd just like to open my email by expressing my gratitude for how cordially you addressed the 2004 film in your interview with Sophia Miles.
Yes.
It seems silly to be affected by criticism other people give about films that you're nothing to do with, but I am.
Yeah.
Poor chap.
Yes.
So it was heartwarming to hear you two speak of my childhood film without the usual fandom heckling.
Well, quite right too.
Like the kid Sophia described, small me also watched the film on loop at least once a day for about half a year, so that Thunder Fever was definitely contagious. Anyway, moving on to more traditional Anderson matters, I was wondering what you think is the most underrated Anderson craft. For instance, I always thought the TX-204 from a small number of Thunderbirds episodes had quite a neat design.
Wow.
Well,
Gosh, most underrated craft.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think?
That's a bit tough, really. I mean, I would say the 0X, but that's not really underrated because people do really like that. Maybe the Hawk from Space 1999. That's pretty cool. Any thoughts, Richard? Are you going to go for a Space Precinct?
Well, of course I am. I have to betray my Space Precinct roots, of course.
Go on, which one is it then?
Well, it's got to be the police cruiser.
Yeah.
It's a classic design. It's a lovely design.
It is a cool design, yeah.
And
Steve Begg design,
absolutely. And great to see the evolution from the original Space Police pilot episode, where they were a slightly different design.
Yeah.
Much more robust in Space Precinct. And more rugged.
They were much more 80s and softer angles.
That's right. That's right.
But Edward, I'm really glad you enjoyed the Sophia Miles interview. I mean, I still feel very strongly about that 2004 Thunderbirds film, as do lots of fans. But I think it is important to know that so many younger fans came to the worlds of Gerry Anderson through that film. So we've got a lot to thank it for in many ways.
Listen, I took my son along when he was 6, 7, 8 years old, and he loved it. And we bought the toys, and we got the DVD. He loved it. And whatever, as you say, whatever opens the door. To people who can then explore, other of Gerry Anderson's shows. It's got to be a good thing.
We're always grateful for that. On another matter of lovely emails, we've had one from Marianne Graham, who wanted to let us know when she first experienced an Anderson show. She said, as a young girl, I fell in love with Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet. I'm now 62 and still love to watch the original shows, but have renewed my love with the advent of the new series. The original series, I felt, was a big part of my childhood.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah,
it does stay with you, doesn't it?
Yeah, people just keep it close to their heart for forever and ever.
Yes. It's interesting. I mean, they sort of become part of the family, don't they, these characters? That's the thing. And as you grow up, you can't let them go because they're almost a part of you. It's strange. And in a similar vein, this is from Scott, who says, Rich and Jamie, I can't thank you enough for keeping Gerry Anderson's dreams alive. Thank you for all your efforts in keeping the fantastic world of Gerry alive and kicking. I'm sure he is approving of all you're doing. Keep it up. Great job to all involved. Well, thank you, Scott. And that's why we're here, really, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you very much, Scott. Really appreciate that.
What do you think he'd think of all this new media stuff? Podcasting and Facebook Live, would it have bemused him or bamboozled him?
I mean, even right towards the end of his life, he was talking about we should be doing something on Facebook and I should be doing things there. So he was really aware of it. So I think he'd massively approve. Yeah. I mean, we've got to just find ways to reach people and to introduce them to and expand the worlds of Gerry Anderson for them.
And the great thing about doing this is that people can have their say. People can write in.
And they do.
Indeed they do. At podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk. Just as Tim Sharman did. And he says, I just wanted to say, great podcast and keep up the good work. Well, we intend to, don't we?
We'll do our best, Tim.
I'm a huge fan of Thunderbirds, watching my first episode around 1975-76. The stories and crafts were amazing, and I've enjoyed them over and over again. I just wanted to ask, are there any plans, says Tim, for any Lego Thunderbird models? And Paul Fotheringham has asked a similar question. He says, hi there. He stumbled across Fab Live, our Facebook broadcast, and from there he has joined us on the podcast. Great stuff, guys. He said, keep it up. And my question for the podcast is, says Paul, will there be any Thunderbirds or Captain Scarlet, etc. licensing deal with Lego? So that's Tim and Paul wondering that.
People have asked that many times before, Tim and Paul. Now, Lego have a system on their website where you can basically suggest models, or models are suggested by builders, and people can go on and vote for those models to be made into real kits. I think there have been a couple in recent times, including a Thunderbird 2, and they've never quite garnered enough likes and attention. So from that side of things, it doesn't look like it's going to happen unless we can do a big concerted effort to make it happen. I know a lot of the guys at Lego out in Denmark are massive Gerry Anderson fans. They love Thunderbirds. But as far as I know right now, there is no foreseeable partnership between Lego and ITV. But I will email our licensing chums at ITV and just see if that ever might be on the cards. Yeah. But the best thing you can do really is spread the message about those kind of would-be kits that are already on the Lego website. Have a look.
I mean, that would be great, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be great to have a Thunderbirds kit and a Captain Scarlet kit and a Space Precinct kit?
There's loads and loads of people that make their own Anderson Lego stuff, and it's amazing. What's the group called that have displayed at Andercon a couple of times? I can't remember. I'll put them in the show notes for this episode. By the way, I've started doing show notes for these episodes.
Have you now?
Which
we haven't even noticed.
Can be found at gerryanderson.co.uk /podcast/pod 5 in this case, or
Right.
pod 2 or pod 3, and I'll put up extra pictures and stuff that were taken and links to people's websites. Anyway,
Great. Nice.
I have a final email here, Richard,
Yeah.
before we move on.
Yeah.
This is from Colin Davies.
Oh, yes.
In amongst a sea of praise and questions and lovely stuff, this one...
It's not a complaint, is it?
No, it's not a complaint.
that's all right.
Amazingly not. Colin says, "Hi, podders." Oh, that's rubbish. Hi, you two.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
better.
I think
Yeah.
we like that more. Or hi, Richard and Jamie.
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
Richard's preference.
In that order, yes.
I can't remember the first time I watched a Gerry Anderson production. I know Thunderbirds has been a part of my life for as long as Doctor Who has been. Mine too, Colin. Yes. There is a picture of me holding a Thunderbird 2 aged about 6 in 1976-77. I remember loving Joe 90 and I still have the car. My first ever job on leaving school in 87 was at a Wimpy on North Road, Brighton. My first ever wage was spent on a Thunderbirds video from Woolworths on London Road.
Ah, good
Brilliant.
old
That
Woolies.
is a great way to spend your first wage.
Isn't it?
The designs of all the machines and sets stand in my memory above any of the Star Wars stuff. Great. Space 1999, UFO, Stingray, my childhood was so much brighter because of Gerry Anderson and Doctor Who, Blake Seven, Hammer Horror, etc.
Yes, yeah.
So I'd like to make a tribute.
Ah,
He's
yes.
written a tribute.
He has indeed, yes.
And Richard, I think you're going to perform said tribute.
Yes, this is in the form of a poem. So, me. I just thought I thought I'd perform it for you and perhaps set it to music.
Okay, here we go then. Good luck.
I never saw the strings, just heroes in my view. Never questioned how they fly, big machines of international rescue. Science wasn't foremost in my mind as the moon floated away, and I knew we were protected by shadow every day. We went to space, beyond the sun, landed on Earth, mirrored under the sea. Aquamphibians were the terrorfish I feared. Joe McClane was my best friend. Always wanted a big rat. These shows gave me such joy and smiles. And you know, they still do that. And wasn't that lovely?
Oh, Richard,
that great?
I think you did it beautifully.
Well, I liked how,
Obviously, you had great stuff to work with.
I did. It's all about the material, as ever. Yes, so thank you so much for that, Colin. Now, I should just say there is a marvellous clip on YouTube that I've just shown you, moving slightly off topic, of Colin Baker reading one of Colin's poems. I just want to be Doctor Who, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Do search for it on YouTube. If you search like I did for Colin Davies, Colin Baker poem, it'll be one of the first hits. It's really
lovely.
Very sweet.
Really lovely.
So, and thank you for the lovely the Gerry Anderson poem as well, Colin. Very, very nice. So, if you have any Gerry Anderson related poems, do send them in. It's rather like the haikus that we have.
We get some haikus
Very
in, yeah.
occasionally, the Fab Live.
Anything like that, send it in. If you've got, in fact, I tell you what, Richard, you did such a nice job to the music.
Yes.
Perhaps if anybody wants to send in replacement lyrics for Gerry Anderson theme music,
I'm not going to sing
maybe
them.
you'll sing it for us.
Not on this fee.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you want to send in your question in audio form, please do that.
Yes.
Record your question on your phone or whatever and send that as an attachment, and then we can play out your question on the podcast so you don't have to keep hearing our voices all the time.
Yes,
we
wouldn't
get a
that be
break
relief
from them.
for everybody. Yes,
Exactly.
that'd be great. So if you have a question or a comment or anything you'd like to share with us and the wider world, please do drop us a line at podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk. I'm afraid we don't have time to read them all, but we'll pick a few out the hat, and if we have time, you can hear your question, and we'll answer it as best we can. And in the meantime, you can rate us, you can review us, you can share this podcast with all your friends, so we get as many people listening as possible. That would be great.
Yeah, we would love that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be ace to have an interview about now? A nice
Oh,
little
you're
interview
good.
segment.
You are good, aren't you?
I mean, I've done the same thing twice.
You
but-
have, really. You're not that good.
No, but
you're pretty good.
I can't think of any other things.
This will be your lovely interview with Sophie Aldred, then, won't it?
It absolutely is.
Now, this might bring to mind for me, we did Sci-Fi by the Sea, didn't we? Do you remember that in Herne
Yes.
Bay a little while ago, which is a very lovely, lovely day. And we found ourselves in a car with Sophie Aldred and Sylvester McCoy. Well, I did at least, when I dropped them back to their hotel after our meal together.
Of course.
That was rather lovely.
We had a lovely meal. Yeah,
Yes.
and you had a lovely pudding.
She doesn't talk about that, does she, in your interview?
Don't think she mentioned it. No.
It's
No,
strange, because
sorry.
it's quite a formative experience for me. But did you probe deep enough, do you think?
It's a relatively short interview because I had to grab Sophie during a recording in a lunch break.
Right, so I'm sure she'd had the time. She would have mentioned it.
Name checked
Of course
you.
she would.
Yeah. Anyway, for those of you who don't know, Sophie Aldred played Ace in Doctor Who. She does mention that, but she's also done numerous TV voices. Most recently, a big thing, Tree Food Tom.
Right.
The kids show. Right. Any of you with kids will probably know of that series. She still plays Ace with Big Finish.
She does.
Still, keeping her Doctor Who role going. And Sophie is an unlikely Gerry Anderson fan who took it in a quite serious academic direction.
Right.
So, without further ado, should we go over to Sophie?
Let's hear it.
Here she is.
My name is Sophie Aldred, and I played Ace in Doctor Who, the assistant to Sylvester McCoy's Doctor, who was the 7th Doctor, between the years of 1987 and 1989.
Well, and you still do it now.
And I still do it now. I've never stopped. Yes, that was telly, though.
Yeah, but you're Ace forever.
Yes, I'm always Ace, forever Ace.
Okay.
I'm very proud of it.
And most Doctor Who fans will know that you are a Gerry Anderson fan too.
I would think so, because I do go on about it, don't I?
Well, it's not just because you go on about it. Obviously, there was a badge or two on Ace's jacket.
Definitely. There was, well, when the time came to work out what Ace was going to wear, I was very keen on her having a sort of modern look. And I looked in several kind of trendy magazines and things and saw what the girls were wearing, the really trendy girls. And they were wearing those jackets with badges and safety pins and things. They also had those sort of Beastie Boys like VW car. People used to nick the medallions off the cars. Well, I thought maybe we shouldn't have that. But then when I realised I could furnish my jacket with badges, the Fanderson one was the first one I went for pretty much, because I thought, that would be great, because I actually thought, well, there must be some kind of crossover with Doctor Who and Gerry Anderson. And I'd been a member of Fanderson for years and years. And then I also found a Thunderbirds badge as well, so I put that on too.
Amazing. Yeah. I remember, I didn't really know about that when I watched Doctor Who when I was a kid until quite late on, but it was quite a cool find.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So, okay, we'll take a little trip back time-wise then.
Okay.
To your...
Do we need a TARDIS or not?
Possibly.
Okay.
Depends how good your memory is. I'm sure you'll remember. Do you remember your first Gerry Anderson viewing experience?
Oh, do you know, I don't actually remember the first one. I have this just general feeling of happiness and warmth whenever I hear the theme tune.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thunderbirds are go.
Which is possibly one of the best theme tunes for any programme ever, ever, ever. And I must have watched it in black and white on our little old telly in Blackheath in southeast London. And I kind of... I was terrified of the hood. I'm sure most people were. I remember that feeling. It's more about the emotions, really, than the actual watching of it. So there was something about it that completely inspired me. I was always somebody who used to make things, and I would make lots of... I don't know whether I ever made the vehicles and the machines and things, but I was desperate for... I think, didn't Pelham Puppets do...
They did.
Yeah, do Thunderbirds
Yep.
puppets. And I was desperate for one of those. I don't think I ever got that one. I think I got a boring old clown instead, but I would have loved to have got that. But I had a Lady Penelope doll. How I wish I still had these things. And my best friend, Catherine Mackenzie, who lived over the road, she had the car. And
Should have had one.
Yeah.
But you didn't.
And I didn't. Well, because I was the boy in our relationship, you see, me and Catherine. Catherine was the girl, and I was Scott Tracy. So I didn't mind that she had the car, because that was a bit girly, really, to have the car. Even though you could press the bits and the I think, was it yellow plastic things would come
So
out
the radiators
the front.
came down and there was yellow missile at the front,
That's
but there were
right.
red missiles at the back as well.
Oh, maybe
I
she'd
think.
lost the red missiles.
I think everybody loses those.
Yeah, but the yellow ones I remember, that feeling of clicking that thing, the to fire the missiles. So yes, I was more into role play, funnily enough. So
Imagine
at the
that.
age of I mean, it must have been, when did it first come out, Thunderbirds?
65.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know whether I saw it then or whether my memories are from then. Probably, actually, yes, because I was 3 then. But certainly, was it then repeated?
Yeah, it was repeated
yeah.
a fair amount.
And certainly by the time I was 5, I was Scott Tracy. And there was a time when I wouldn't answer to anything else but Scott. And I remember being in my granny's garden up in Derbyshire, and my mum made me an outfit. I don't know whether you could buy the outfits by then, but I had a blue, light blue polo neck, some light blue trousers, and she made the hat and everything. And then she made me a sort of holster, and I remember she used, my grandfather smoked cigars at the time, and they come in those sort of long metal things.
Cigar tubes.
So she put a few of those together and made me one of those. So I was the biz, and I used to run around the garden just being Scott Tracy. It's just fantastic.
That's so cute. Was your mum fully supportive of this make-believe?
Yes, completely, yes. Luckily.
Yeah, it was lucky. So how long did the Scott phase last?
I don't know, really. I mean, it seemed to last forever, but
It's never stopped.
Yeah, no, it's never stopped. No. It's funny, isn't it, how Scott Tracy was my favourite as well. Because I had fair hair at the time, so you would have thought Virgil would be more appealing, but Scott was the one. I think because he was kind of the boss, the oldest, and I wasn't the oldest sister as well. And my brother informed me the other day, very bossy. So
just like Scott.
yeah. So I think I probably identified with him as a character most.
Yeah. Do you think that's because he was the sort of most aspirational, for want of a less wanky word?
Yeah. Yes, I think probably. And he was often the hero, wasn't he? The doer.
Well,
I don't know.
Do
you think?
I
or is that just my interpretation?
I think, partly because you're so attached to Scott,
Yeah, maybe.
I think. But I always think that Scott turned up, got all the gear out, and then said, "Come on, Virgil, come and do the rescue." And
Yeah, fair enough.
he put himself in danger sometimes, but it was Virgil who was really the
I
workhorse.
don't see anything wrong with that.
Okay.
That's kind of my relationship with my brother, come to think of it, at that time. So maybe that's why it was so appealing.
It's a perfect fit then. After Thunderbirds, did you watch any other Anderson stuff? Did you watch Captain Scarlet or J90?
I think Captain Scarlet was probably a bit grown up for me. It was a bit scary, maybe, because it was much darker, wasn't it?
Just a bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Dead puppets face down in streams and stuff.
Yeah, you see that.
Yeah.
That was a bit too much for me. I remember Joe90 though, but Joe90 was a bit annoying.
He was annoying, wasn't he?
He was a bit annoying.
No, I never
I liked the
him.
design. I liked the. Is it the rat trap?
The big rat.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
big rat. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I liked that and the music, of course. But no, I mean, once you've watched Thunderbirds, why bother watching anything else?
Ooh,
basically?
controversial, Sophie. Okay, no, I can see that. So it must have been a bit unusual for you as a girl. I know I'm being a bit sort of gender conformist saying that, but especially at the
Yeah,
time. But
I
were there many girl
suppose so.
Thunderbirds fans?
Well, I didn't really meet anybody else. We didn't really discuss telly and things like we do now, or like we probably did later. And I suppose I was young, and I was a tomboy, and that was perfectly accepted by my family and my friends. I mean, I don't think I wore a dress till I was about 12, and I do remember having to wear a dress for something, and this is very naughty. I've told my parents this subsequently. They have forgiven me for it, so don't worry. But I remember putting this dress on, and they were waiting for me in the car to go somewhere, and I was furious. And I went to the bathroom cabinet and I got the nail scissors out and I cut a hole in my dress. I didn't have to wear it.
That is really naughty.
I know.
Probably just so you could put your international rescue
Yeah,
uniform back on.
exactly, yeah. Don't you know who I am? I'm Scott Tracy, for goodness sake.
Scott would never have to wear a dress, would he? So, Beyond Thunderbirds, then, Anderson stuff wasn't really a big part of your childhood. You didn't go into stuff like UFO or Space 1999?
No, I think because by the time they came along, I was possibly watching other things, and I was kind of aware of them, but I didn't really sort of find out about them properly until much later at university.
Yeah. Okay. So, but in the meantime, Thunderbirds had sort of stuck with you.
Oh, yes.
So much so that when you were at university, what did you do and why?
Well, yes. I did a drama degree. There were only about 5 universities that were offering a drama degree at the time. You can now do it anywhere, can't you? But so it was quite difficult to get in there. And once I was there, I really made the most of everything. And then third year comes along, and it's time to write a dissertation. And people were looking at things like Brecht and I don't know. There was a film element, so Hitchcock and things like that. And I couldn't decide what to focus on because my primary love was performing. But anyway, then I went to have a chat with one of the lecturers, and one of the suggested subjects actually was football as theatre, and that was a kind of interesting idea I toyed with for a while because I loved football. But by that time, I had found in the University Precinct Centre up Oxford Road a fledgling science fiction shop. It was a bit like a sort of newsagent's, and it hardly had anything in it really, as far as I remember. But on one of the shelves, I picked up this magazine, or kind of, I mean, you couldn't really call it a magazine in a way, called SIG, Supermarionation is Go. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. Took it home and read it cover to cover. Mm. And in there was a letter from somebody called Graham Bleethman. And he wrote something like, I've just written a thesis on Thunderbirds or Gerry Anderson or something. Anyone who's interested, get in touch. And I thought, that's it. That's what I'll do my dissertation on. And I spoke to a couple of friends and they said, yes, you must do it. So I went to see the lecturer and I said to him, can I do this? I'm thinking of doing puppets on TV and in particular Gerry Anderson. And he said, yes, that's a brilliant idea. Amazing. So isn't that great? So, yeah, I went away and I learnt all about the first puppets on TV. I think I did one chapter on that probably. And then the rest of it was the sort of the history of Gerry Anderson and Supermarionation, because I found it really fascinating. And I also illustrated it with paintings of Thunderbirds, which
amazing. I didn't know that.
And yes, and actually that inspired. Well, I don't know what came first, because I also did paint Thunderbirds 1, 2, and 3 on the toilet wall of the house that I was renting in my third year. There was Thunderbirds in the loo, and then I put Winnie the Pooh and Piglet on the door. And it was funny because years later, I was at some party, I met somebody saying, oh yeah, I lived in this really cool house in Rusholme and it had Thunderbirds painted on the wall. And I said, that was me.
You were the artist?
Yeah.
Amazing. I wonder if it's still there now.
I think I looked actually at the house a while ago. I was in Manchester and it's been all tarted up and we had a roof that leaked and everything, and it was a sort of falling down house, so no.
Shame.
Yeah, shame.
So was it difficult to research the Supermarionation shows then? Because obviously now it's everywhere. There's nice documentaries out, Wikipedia, whatever. But was there a sort of lack of information?
It was very difficult, yeah, because where'd you go? There's nothing really. So I scoured the Supermarionation is Go magazines, got all the back ones, and then I got in touch with Graham as well, and we started a correspondence. It was really great, and he wrote me these letters. Still got them somewhere, and he would illustrate his letters. So he drew me little Thunderbirds rockets and things on
Sweet.
everything. Yeah, it was really lovely. And he was incredibly helpful and took me to, I don't know whether there are any books out. I don't think I never went to a convention. I mean, a lot of it was my own opinion, I think, because I was
Nothing wrong
an
with that.
opinionated 21-year-old or 20-year-old. And then, but Graham was really helpful. And then it was very odd because then, of course, I left university and then got Doctor Who when I was 24 and filmed Doctor Who, my first story, and was invited down to Salisbury for a Doctor Who kind of convention or gathering, and it was all very new to me then. And I remembered that Graham lived in Salisbury, so I wrote to him and he said, well, let's meet up, come round, So it was great. After all that time, we met each other.
How funny.
And I went to see his house. He showed me this amazing room that he had, which had all his collectibles in there, which was amazing, sort of brand new Lady Penelope doll in a box and all sorts. It was
Were you
wonderful.
jealous?
I was very jealous. And and then we end up meeting each other at conventions. Who'd have thought? It's so bizarre.
Isn't that a bizarre way to meet? And for people that don't know, Graham is a well-known Anderson artist who does fantastic, highly detailed cutaways.
They're absolutely wonderful, aren't they? He did the
Geek's Paradise.
blueprints, didn't he? That was the first thing he did, I think. And now he does the Haynes manuals for all sorts of science fiction as well.
Yeah.
He's a fantastically talented artist.
I love that connection. Well, can you remember any key findings or conclusions or thoughts from your dissertation, or is that an impossible question?
No,
I mean, it's available, isn't it? So,
yeah, it is. Yes, I think it was the most read ex-student's dissertation in the drama department library for many years. In fact, a friend of mine from my year is now a professor there, so I might actually. You've prompted me again. I must look A for my copy in the attic somewhere, and B, I must get in touch with her and say, is it in the John Rylands library, or is it still in the drama department? What happens to them, or has it been recycled? Probably recycled by now.
Well, we must get a copy somehow, Sophie.
Yeah, okay.
I'm desperate to see it.
All right then.
It's such a cool thing.
I'd like to see it again because I have no idea really what I wrote, but. There you go, can't remember.
I'm sure it'll be amazingly insightful.
Well, it would be great for you to read it and go, no, that's a load of rubbish.
Well,
that didn't happen at all.
Yeah, but I don't... Well, historically, there's a lot of kind of bits and pieces which are a bit contentious and people misremember, even where Thunderbirds got its name, as I've spoken about recently.
Right.
Dad misremembered it, thought it was that his brother trained out of Thunderbird Field in Arizona. There was no Thunderbird Field, but they made a propaganda movie called The Thunderbirds there, and Dad's brother was in it as an extra. And that's where the name stuck from. But also I think that's more exciting because the name stuck because of the glamour of Hollywood being reported back home.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's all sorts of stuff which maybe is a bit uncertain.
Yes.
But on reflection now, with the benefit of working in the industry for so long and knowing what makes good entertainment and seeing what keeps the fans coming back, do you think you can kind of pick together some threads of what makes Thunderbirds such a sort of a timeless, strong performer?
Yeah, I mean, there's loads. It's the age-old story of good against evil. You've got the Hood and the brothers and the dad. The family, it's a real family. You've got it's a winning formula, and if you go off one character or you pick a character and you identify with them, you've got lots to choose from there.
It's true.
If you're a girl, well, not me, but you could go for Lady Penelope, who's a very strong female character, which is great, isn't it? Because in those days we didn't have them so much. And
even though you weren't that interested, you'd rather be Scott.
Yeah.
But who cares?
Yeah, but who cares?
You've got great options.
You have comedy with Parker, You've got the Hood is like pure evil. You've got disaster every episode, sometimes more than once, and you've got fabulous vehicles and wonderful music and great puppeteering, and there's just nothing I can think about that doesn't work.
It's every element.
Yeah, every element is just perfectly blended.
Yeah.
It's great.
And when you were watching it as a kid, what was your kind of level of awareness of the puppets Did you see them as puppets?
No.
Was there anything like that?
No, not at all. No, they were people. They were characters.
Yeah.
They were real as anything.
Because I quite often hear people say, you know, oh, I only really liked it because you could see the strings. But I think that's a weird kind of adult interpretation. Because actually, within seconds, these things are real to you, aren't they?
I think that's one thing I might have discussed in my dissertation, or if I hadn't, I wish I had, which is this suspension of disbelief, which we all have, but I think children have it even more. I mean, I've worked a lot with puppets, not so much marionettes, but with handheld puppets. And I did a programme called Corners years ago, and we had a puppet character. And the puppeteer we'd quite often invite children into the studio, and the puppeteer would be there right next to the puppet, and the children never spoke to the puppeteer. They always spoke to the puppet. They know how to do it, you know, they know that. And even if I had seen some strings, and I don't think really, for the technology at the time, can you see many strings? Is it like this myth of Doctor Who and the wobbly sets?
Well, yeah, I think especially on, you know, whatever it was, 405 line tellies back in. You wouldn't have seen them.
Wooden tops, yes. Thunderbirds, no.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you go from carpet thread, hanging them up, to tungsten wire. Yeah, I mean, they were obsessed with covering them up, and for the time, even now, I think, yeah, you can see them occasionally, but...
No, it's amazing.
And they're so easy to look past because of the stories and the performances and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
If you could play any Gerry Anderson character... other than Scott Tracy.
Oh, no!
we'll say Scott Tracy's number one.
All right, then.
Any idea who your number two would be? I know I'm putting you on the spot now.
No, I mean, well, it's a toss-up. I don't know. I think, well, the Hood, it's always great to play a baddie, isn't it? Or any of those baddies. Or maybe even... I don't know, Jeff, who's in command, you know, come on, you know. Or Parker, a bit of comedy. No, maybe Lady Penelope. I'll go to, you know, I'll completely eschew my childhood and become a very elegant, sophisticated woman, and I'll play Lady Penelope.
I can see you making a good Lady Penelope. Lovely.
A bit older, maybe. I'd quite like to play an older Lady Penelope in a sort of tweed suit. That would be good. You know, she's a bit older she's been around a bit.
Is she still paired up with Parker?
Yeah, definitely, yes. Oh, they're forever. They're like, you know, yeah, definitely.
It's very sweet. Has Thunderbirds kind of influenced your career more widely? Does it change the way you think about doing voices, or has made you want to do more science fiction? I mean, is that... I'm kind of trying to force an answer into you now, but
yeah.
Did that kind of fascination with science fiction drive you towards things like Doctor Who?
I mean, the thing is, as an actress, you're blooming lucky if you get a job.
You'll take whatever you're given.
Take whatever you're given, basically. However, having said that, you know, I mean, I think that whole love of... it's certainly helped me in my, you know, you could say the whole thing about Ace, who's a tomboy. You know, I was a tomboy. I played Scott Tracy. I ran around my granny's garden saving the universe. Hey, then I got to do that and get paid for it when I was an adult, you know.
So it's all interconnected. You
yeah,
sort of can't
completely.
get away from it.
Yeah.
And then what are you up to now, Sophie? I know bits because I work with you occasionally, which is very exciting for me.
Oh, it's lovely for me as well. It's so great. Yeah. We do a lot of Big Finish together, don't we? And I love working with you. You're a great director. I was just saying to Wayne, what I like about you is you sort of let people have their rope, but you also know what you want. You've got a very clear idea of what's going to work.
Bless you.
So, yeah, it's lovely. It's always lovely to work with you.
I mean, you have to say these things because you're being recorded.
No, I don't.
You can speak the truth after
I could be really
the mic's
rude,
off.
couldn't I?
You could. By the way, this is the great time to say I can't stand working with you and you're awful. No. It's lots of fun. And what about other stuff?
I do lots of voice work, which now, of course, I really appreciate the guys who were doing the voices. I mean, their performances are also, let's not forget, they create the characters, really, don't they? They are the
Absolutely.
people behind those characters, and without their brilliant performances, it wouldn't have been as popular. I absolutely guarantee. It's been lovely to meet some of them as well on my journeys into conventions. It's really lovely.
I've got a few pictures on my phone of you with Shane Rimmer in particular, Scott Tracy's voice.
Well, of course, he's my favourite.
Of course he is.
But yeah, so I love doing voice work. I really enjoy it, particularly playing characters. I really like character work these days. I'm hoping that when I look right, that I'll end up playing mad old bags in lots of things. I've already started doing that vocally, so that's really nice. Just been to Italy on a choir trip, singing a solo. I've sort of rediscovered my love of singing, so that's really nice. And I sing in a band as well. Very sort of, it's kind of lovely to bring all that back. And then what else am I doing? Lots and lots of bits and pieces. I've been teaching this whole year in a school, and just doing whatever comes along. Sylvester always said to me, when I was doing Doctor Who with him, he always said, I always say yes to everything. And I think that's such a great philosophy. It's never backfired for me. And so I'll just carry on saying yes, I think, and just do whatever comes up.
Amazing, including podcast interviews.
Yes,
bless you.
Definitely.
Sophie, you're a star, thank you. If people want to find you on social media and that kind of thing, where can they find you?
Well, there's a Facebook thing, Sophie Aldred. You just look up Sophie Aldred. Twitter as well. Although I'm woefully kind of sporadic with both Twitter and Facebook. There's we didn't talk about Strangeness in Space, which is a podcast that I did with Trev and Simon off of Saturday Morning Telly. And that sort of features quite a lot on my Facebook feed. And just conventions. A convention near you.
You are very active on the convention circuit,
I am.
aren't you? And very lovely and approachable, I should say, too. So if anybody's, a bit nervous about coming to say hello to a celebrity, Sophie is an ideal entry point because she is so warm and nice
Never
and
be
kind.
nervous about coming to say hello. Funnily enough, in Italy this weekend, I was in this tiny medieval town just outside Rome, and this girl suddenly went all kind of quivery and shaky, and she'd realised that she was a Doctor Who fan. It was so funny. So we ended up talking. But I really like to put people at their ease because I'm just a person, and I think it's great to have a conversation and to really, if people want to ask me things, then I feel like I really want to talk to them and let them know things.
Bless you. Right, Sophie, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Lovely
Thank you,
speaking to
Jamie.
you.
Oh, well, wasn't that sweet?
Yeah, she is so lovely.
Lovely, Sophie. And how interesting. So that dissertation apparently is the most read by the public in the Manchester Library.
Yeah.
So I think you can actually access that somehow.
I think so. She's going to check it out, and
Great.
Sophie's going to try and find a copy of it so I can,
Yeah.
digitise it. Maybe put segments of it online.
Yeah, lovely.
But to have a dissertation about,
Amazing.
the world of Thunderbirds and TV puppetry. I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty unusual, but anyway, good old Sophie.
Said some-
and said lovely things about me, didn't she? Oh, she's so
don't-
sweet.
I mean, I'll have to listen to it again, but I'm not sure she mentioned me.
I mean, she was thinking nice things about you.
I mean, I think, after giving a lift back to her hotel after that meal, you'd think she would have said something.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe Gary Newman will mention me.
Probably, yeah, as one of his greatest fans. Anyway, there's plenty more where that came from. And if you don't want to miss out on future interviews, what should people do?
Well, it's quite simple. You simply subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, on Spotify, on Stitcher.
Yeah.
I know you even post it on YouTube. So there's no excuse, really, for not listening, subscribing, sharing, rating and reviewing.
Exactly.
That'd be great.
Wherever you listen to us now, you can listen to us somewhere else if you like.
Yes, exactly. There's no escape.
What's up next, Richard?
Well, I think it's time to go over to Chris Dale, our splendid roving reporter, who's been tied down to his chair again in front of the randomizer, whereby he's shown a random episode from the Gerry Anderson universe, and he has to talk about it and give us his thoughts.
Yes, and he's very good at it.
He's very good.
Let's hand over. Here's Chris.
Good luck, Chris.
No, that bit goes down there. It's called a USB port, actually. It's very useful. I don't think you have any up here, though. Oh, hello, everyone. Well, as you can probably hear, today's edition of the Randomizer is coming to you direct from Moonbase Alpha. Marina and I, she's offered to stay on and help me run this, by the way, we've brought the machine up here and we've actually already made the selection. I was hoping it would save time to get it out of the way, but the Randomizer has thrown up a very unlikely choice today, so I thought it would be best to just get the thing checked out before we go any further. And helping me with this task we have Professor Bergman.
Hello.
And computer specialist David Carno. Now, Carno, you've had Alpha's main computer hooked up to the Randomizer to run diagnostics. What does she think?
I have nothing to say on that subject.
We can find no fault in the system.
But there must be some reason it's made this choice.
Professor Bergman.
It's Dr. Matthias, everybody.
Professor Bergman. Excuse me.
Oh, that's all right. Have you found out what's wrong with the Randomizer?
There's nothing wrong with the machine itself. It was the energy cells. They were completely drained.
Oh, I see. So the Randomizer just didn't have enough power to make much of a selection this week. Marina, did you forget to put the Randomizer on charge? What's that? I forgot to put the Randomizer on charge. Oh, that's right, yes. Oh, dear. Sorry, everyone.
When will they ever learn?
Well, yes, I suppose that accounts for it. Well, we'll stick with the choice it made and just let the Randomizer recharge for a bit, shall we?
Yes, well, they can do with the rest.
Yes, I should probably explain to our listeners that out of the remaining 535 Gerry Anderson episodes still to be viewed, the Randomizer chose the episode made immediately before the one we watched last week. Not sure what the odds of that are exactly, but they must be pretty remote. Anyway, yes, that does mean we're watching another Joe 90 this week. Fine with me, but I realise that for some of you that may be a bit of a disappointment.
Not for me, it isn't.
Commander Koenig. Well, we're all set to go here, I think. If you boys wouldn't mind, doing your stuff.
Link up.
Full power.
Punch it up on the big screen, Paul. It affects all of us here, all of us.
Well, no, it only affects me, really, because I'm the one who has to comment on this. But you're all welcome to watch as well, so anyway, here we go. It's Child of the Sun God. So as you can probably imagine from what I said last time, I have absolutely no problem with watching Joe 90 2 weeks on the trot. I think it's wonderful. If I can talk a little bit about how I first saw this show, because I actually have fairly strong memories of the process of actually watching this show for the first time in the way that I don't necessarily have for Thunderbirds and Stingray and some of the others. I'm a child who was introduced to this stuff when it was repeated on the BBC in the 1990s, so Friday nights at 6, Thunderbirds, then Stingray, then Scarlet. But Joe 90, although it was shown by the BBC, it wasn't shown in that slot. For some reason, it was dumped in the CBBC section on Saturday mornings at 7:45, and I suppose it was because I had to get up specially to watch it. I would forego my Saturday morning lie-in, but I do have very clear memories of sitting through lots of these episodes in the broom cupboard, along with the lovely Philippa Forrester. This story is the only Gerry Anderson episode written by John Lucarotti, who wrote for several British cult sci-fi type series of the 60s and 70s. Probably best known to people listening to this for his work on Doctor Who, several stories for Doctor Who, including the Aztecs. So this story evidently is he hadn't quite got the whole Aztec thing out of his system after doing Doctor Who in 63, 64. He still had this one last story in him that evidently he managed to get the Anderson team interested in.
It's Sam, Mac.
Oh, hello, Sam.
Listen, Mac, we'd like you to record a brain pattern.
All right. When?
Right away. The subject's in Shane Weston's office now.
Okay, Sam, I'll get down to the laboratory.
Thanks, Mac. I'll explain it all later.
Yes, I've heard that all before.
It's rather worrying that they're set up to just randomly record anybody's brain pattern at a moment's notice. You'd think this would require some degree of consent, and it's not even like they use the brain pattern and then delete it. We see in several episodes they store these for later use again, which is one of the many slightly creepy aspects to this series, which never occurs to you when you first see it as a child, but when you see it as an adult, there are certain certain less savoury elements to the idea. Nothing that really distracts from your enjoyment of the show, I don't think, at least not in my case. But,
Is the recording finished, Dad?
Yes, Joe.
yeah, it's a bit unsettling.
Oh,
What's wrong, Joe?
those inoculations I had. My arm hurts.
Don't worry, son. Your arm will be better by tomorrow.
The rest of you may not be so lucky if you get killed, but your arm will be fine. Oh, and in the background there we have a very rare sight, an actual puppet skull, which I'm struggling to remember any puppet skulls. In fact, we had a skeleton in the Thunderbirds episode The Uninvited of some poor soul who got trapped in the pyramid of Commandades. We also had a selection of shrunken heads in Supercar's Amazonian Adventure. That must have been fun to create strange, slightly morbid things for a show like this with a puppet skull. And given that the show was clearly very happy to reuse main characters from Captain Scarlet, as we'll later see in this episode, it's strange that the two main Amaztec characters we see are both white characters that have been painted brown, when the Lieutenant Green puppet is presumably still hanging around somewhere waiting to be used again. He was used in Joe 90 and King for a Day, so it's strange that he's absent from this episode. I love Sam and Mac just sat around there playing cards while Joe is off on his dangerous assignment. They really don't care. At the start of the series, they would be huddled around a radio, listening intently, making sure that Joe was all right. But now, they're not bothered. He's nearly 10 years old. He can go into dangerous situations without backup or by himself. Not a problem. Now, once again, as I said previously, everyone assumes, this is a kid's show because it's got a kid in it. Well, now we have this slightly strange setup where Joe is staked out and is about to be stabbed through the heart. Again, it's not really an image you see in most kids' shows. I suppose it's admirable that this series continued these sort of slightly sadistic streak that began in Captain Scarlet, but...
No! Do you defy the law by killing a child?
Yeah, that phrase, killing a child in a children's show, probably shouldn't be there. And going back to what we said about John Lucarotti, he's obviously a very educated man when it comes to the Aztec civilization. I'm not sure why, in that case, this tribe is referred to as Amaztecs, because as far as I can see, there was never a real-life Amaztec tribe. That word was never used prior to this show. I'm wondering if maybe he called them Amaztecs to allow himself certain... Oh my god, there's another puppet skeleton with a ribcage. Wow. Going back to what I was saying, maybe that was to allow himself certain dramatic license for things that... Oh my god, there's a close-up on the puppet skeleton. That is freaky. Oh no, now you can see right up his ribcage. Where are his legs? Where are his legs? Oh, I don't want to think about what happened to him.
Joe 90 to base. Come in, please.
Hello, Joe. Where are you?
Oh, Sam and Mac have finished their card game and they've now moved on to their hot chocolate. Presumably they'll be settling down for bed anytime now. And it is a shame that he never got to write for any more Gerry Anderson series, because his work on Doctor Who, I think he wrote 3 stories for Doctor Who. The other 2 being obviously The Massacre, the... help! I don't remember what the other Doctor Who story was. I can't look that up, that's cheating.
Still nothing we can do except wait.
Oh, if you're going to wait, then I am going to have to look this up. John Lucarotti, The Massacre, The Aztecs, and Marco Polo. How could I forget Marco Polo? That's a brilliant one. If I can just go back to what I said at the very beginning about when this was being run on CBBC, if you compare it to the other shows, it kind of makes it look like it's the runt of the litter by being being treated like that. And it wasn't treated very well. It was given a new title sequence. The teaser was moved back behind the opening title sequence, and a lot of the violence was cut out. But it's still... I would love to see a Gerry Anderson series appear on CBBC. Oh no, CBBC's not really a thing now anymore, is it? No, it's all on the CBBS channel. But again, you realise it's nearly 10 years since any of this stuff really was shown properly on British television. Last time Joe 90, Thunderbirds and Stingray was shown would have been on the Sci-Fi Channel in 2009, 2010. Captain Scarlet I don't think has been shown since 2008, when the first episode was repeated on BBC 4, so it's way past time. Here we see at last that the villain, the man behind the sinister mask of Huitzilopochtli, is none other than Captain Ochre, because after leaving Spectrum, hard times for the former captains. I imagine Colonel White probably spent all their pension money on more champagne. And here we have a villain killing himself before Joe can do it, and the back of his head fell off as he fell as well. Always fun to see puppets fracturing their skulls on the way down. Joe doesn't actually say anything to end this episode.
Listen, I was only kidding about that coma.
Though it would probably serve Shane Weston right if Joe did knock him into a coma for a while. Because Joe probably did suffer enormously later on in life with various mental issues. But sadly, that's a discussion for another time. Or perhaps thankfully that's a discussion for another time. That was Child of the Sun God by John Lucarotti. And I do enjoy it. I do like it. It's... It's nothing spectacular, but there's nothing really wrong with it. It's perfectly decent, and I just wish we could have seen him do more. It's a very interesting first story from a writer who sadly never got a chance to do any more, at least in the Gerry Anderson world. But a lot of his stuff is still out there. Sadly, most of his Doctor Who is missing. But if you ever have a chance, go and watch The Aztecs if you haven't seen it already. And why haven't you seen The Aztecs already? Make it a nice double bill with this and The Aztecs, and yeah, just enjoy it. Just enjoy it as I have today. Catch you later.
Well,
Chris, more Joe 90.
Yeah, what are the chances, eh? What?
I just don't.
You don't get it, do you?
I don't like Joe.
No, you're not a big fan. What's he done to upset you?
He's not very likeable. I know some people love him, but there's also plenty of people that spent their childhoods being bullied because they had to wear glasses.
Oh, yes.
And they were all called Joe 90 mockingly. Not like Joe 90, oh, you're a hero. Joe 90, I'm taking the mickey.
That's interesting, isn't it? I suspect if it were shown today, or if it were devised today, I suspect that they would probably find a way of making that a little more easy to bear, and maybe even something of a badge of honour to have a pair of specs like Joe 90. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's not such a...
I'm sure, people don't use insults like Specky and Four Eyes, do they?
No.
That's a very old-fashioned thing.
We've got Peter Capaldi and his sonic sunglasses
exactly.
and all that.
Maybe Joe would have sunglasses now.
Yes, perhaps he would.
Anyway, thank you, Chris.
Yes, well done, Chris.
And you enjoyed it,
yes.
So that's fine.
And I wonder what's next for him and the randomizer.
Well, let's hope it's not more Joe 90 for my sake.
Go on, Chris, make it more Joe 90.
He has no control, it's the randomizer.
Of course,
it's random.
Of course it's random, yes.
It is random, otherwise he wouldn't have watched Torchy those episodes ago.
I know.
Anyway, if you would like to read more about the stuff we talked about today, you can go to gerryanderson.co.uk. You can see the show notes.
Yes.
If you'd like some goodies from the Gerry Anderson universe, then you can go to shop.gerryanderson.co.uk. There's all sorts of stuff there.
Yes, by show. That's a very interesting feature. You can actually shop by show at the store. Which is,
so if you're weird enough to be a Joe 90 fan, you can shop by Joe 90 products if you'd really like to. It's totally up to you.
Yes, and as ever, of course, please rate, please share, and please leave a review if you haven't done so already. And do get in touch if you'd like to send us your comments and questions at podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk for next time.
That's it.
That's about it, isn't it?
Yeah. Thank you very much for having us in your ears again. We really appreciate it.
Yes. See you next time.
For Pod 6.
God, already.
I know, exciting, isn't it? Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Stage 1 complete.
Let's go.
Spectrum is green.